How's it going today? I'm out in the boat today and I noticed that one of the rods that I use all the time, the tip had broken off. And so this is something that happens from time to time. You don't like it when it happens, but inevitably if you fish enough, it's going to happen. So what I'm going to do today is show you how to repair that rod tip. And this is what happened to mine. So here's the main part of the rod, and then there's the tip. Just the tip broke off, and this is the best kind of break because you don't waste much of your rod, and you can clean these things up. You can clean this up, make sure that that's cleaned up, and you can put it back together and save yourself a lot of money from having to purchase a new rod. So let's dive into that. But before we do, if you could do me a huge favor, if you could click the subscribe button down below, give this video a like, drop a comment if you could. It helps support the channel. I'm going to keep growing this as much as possible, and yeah, I appreciate the support. So let's dive in. First things first, let's go over the supplies that you're going to need to get this fixed. So I got the rod itself here, and then here's the guide, the tip that broke off. Then you're also going to need some hot glue, a sharp utility knife, a needle nose pliers, a lighter, or some sort of heat source. You can also use like a propane torch or something like that. And I'm not sure if I'm going to need it yet, but sometimes I need this safety or this pin. First thing we're going to need to do is clean up this rod tip piece, and we need to get all the glue and the threads off here, and then extract the broken part from that tip to be able to reuse it. So let's start cleaning that up, and that's where the utility knife comes in right away. So here I'm going to start scraping some of that, I'm assuming it's epoxy or some sort of glue, off, and getting it down to bare metal. After cleaning this up, you can see that it broke a little bit more than I thought. So the rod tip itself goes from here down to here, and then this is where the rod starts. So this will be a little bit easier to fix because I can heat this up right here and then pull this with the pliers and get that broken part of the rod out. So that's step one, is cleaning up the rod tip to make sure that you can get the broken part out. The next step we're going to do is we're going to take the rod tip and we need to get this old part of the rod out. And we're going to do that with a little bit of heat applied with the lighter. So we got to make sure we don't heat it up too much because we can damage things, but let's apply a little heat to the metal part here. And that glue will start heating up, and see if we can pull it out. Ooh, a little bit of force and it came out just like that. So that was in there just like so, and we were able to extract it just like that. Here we got the rod tip, the old portion of the rod that was broken off, that was in the rod tip, pulled out, and then here is the main part of the rod. Sometimes what you're going to have to do is clean this part up depending on how it broke, and if there's some frays, if it's fiberglass or graphite or whatever, and sometimes you have to pare the rod down just a touch so that you can get the old guide back on. So I'm just cleaning this up a little bit, making sure that there's no frays on it or any burrs so that we can fit that. Yep, there was one right there. All right. So let's test fit the rod tip to see if it's going to work. Looks like we got to pare it down just a little bit more to get that rod tip on there. This is where it's important to have a very sharp utility knife so that you can just ever so slightly pare this down and scrape off little bits so that you can clean it up and you're not taking too much of that rod off. You can see the pieces down here that are coming off. I cleaned up the rod tip a little bit more, and then also what I did is I took this pin and I cleaned out the inside of this guide where it connects to the end of the rod. There was a little bit of glue and funk in there. And after that and another test fit, you will see that it fits pretty darn good. And that's what we're looking for right there. The last step is to get some of this hot glue to bond these two together. There's a couple different ways to do it. You can put hot glue right on the rod here and then slip that on, or you can try and get hot glue in the rod tip in here and then heat it up and put it on. What I have found, and this one's going to be really small, is if you can get glue in there and put it on, it works good. So we're going to give it a shot and kind of look at both and see what's what. You may ask, how am I going to get hot glue in there? Well, that's where, again, the sharp utility knife comes in. So what I did is I just shaved off some little pieces of the glue stick. And now I'm going to shave it down again to get it nice and skinny so that I can stick it right into that tip of the rod. Right there. See that? So we're going to put that little shaving of hot glue right into the rod tip. Just like that. I think I'm going to do one more like that. Put that right into the rod so you can see on the rod tip, you can see just a little bit of it sticking out. So now what I'm going to do is grab this with the pliers and I'm going to put a little heat to that so that it doesn't fall out. So that should be enough to get some of that down in there. And then what I'm going to do is going to heat the hot glue up and put a little bit on here. So I have hot glue in there already, and I'm going to put a little bit on here, and then I'm going to press it onto there to make sure I have a good bond. So this is going to be a little bit of a time-sensitive application because we need hot glue here, and then we need to heat this up a little bit. So see if I can do this quickly while recording at the same time. So I think we'll give that a little bit of heat down there, and then at the same time we'll get this hot glue a little bit warm. Heat, get the glue warm. So do a little bit of both at the same time. All right, got a little bit of glue there. Got the guide warm. And thread it on just like that. A little hot. And then we're going to push it down. And then line it up. And we're going to hold it there until it cools down. Now, the cool part is, if you don't get this straight the first time, you can reheat this and straighten it back out. But if you can get it straight the first time, that's going to be the best bet. So I think it's probably cool enough. Look at that. It is successfully fixed. The only thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to clean up some of this glue that you see right here, a little bit of the extra glue that helped bond that together. Get that cleaned up, and yeah, we are going to be good to go. Look at that. I was able to get that right off. And you know what? I'm happy with that. And that is how you successfully fix your rod. Now, I've done this in the field before. I've done it out in the boat. You know, this is one of my favorite rods that I'm using right here. And now it is just a little bit shorter. So that's how much shorter the rod is. And it's still going to be able to have the sensitivity I need and be able to fish the applications I need. You can also use something like this epoxy, but I typically use hot glue because that's what I have on hand and most people have on hand. But you could also bond the two together with this epoxy. What I actually might do is mix some up and then put some on the outside of it to dress it up to help hold it in place as well. Hopefully this video helped you repair your rod and then you don't have to go out and buy a new one. And I'm going to be doing more tips and tricks like this, so if you could do me a favor, go down and hit that subscribe button, that like button, drop a comment, and I will get some more videos out there just like this one. So good luck out there on the water, and we'll see you next time.